Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Now, what we have here is a story that I talked about quite a few months back, where we're talking about a story where a woman was arrested in her own home from a squatter because the police said, "Oh, you don't own that home," and she was not able to get to her home. Well, we have an update on that situation. And what's going on here is that the woman was actually, she woman was released and she's able to get her home back because the guy was arrested. So this has all been a horrible ordeal. Finally, only took at least a year for this to all be, kind of fully released and done and over with. But of course, it is finally here.
You don't know the law. Yeah, there's laws. You shouldn't be trying to steal my house. Yes, you are. You don't even have a...
It is one of the squatter stories we brought you that outraged our viewers. You can't break into a home that does not belong to you and claim you have a right to be there. That is the message from the Queens District Attorney after prosecuting the man at the center of a 7 on Your Side investigation.
10 months after our story first aired, the squatter pleaded guilty and is now facing years behind bars. Investigative reporter Dan Krauth joins us now with his exclusive update. Dan.
Yeah, so what we have here is that a woman had lost her own home, or have essentially relinquished her home, because a squatter came in, said that they had no right, and she was arrested for changing the lock on her house, because, normally when you want to keep people from breaking into your house, you kind of want a lock on it. That kind of is a great deterrent to make people break into your house. I mean, what type of sane person wouldn't do that? But the thing is that she was arrested in her own home, but finally this guy is being held accountable. He's finally being arrested for the things that he's done. He's going to be spending years behind bars, and this is all that we've accounted for. Now, the problem that we have here is that we had the police come and arrest this woman in her own home and violate her rights and believe this guy, where he was able to do whatever to the house, which we don't even know the condition of the house right now, and just walk free. This is the problem with squatting laws, is that they're completely outdated. They're back from the 1800s, and they don't need to be here anymore. And this is the problem that we have here in this country, and they should be completely abolished.
David and Liz, our investigation first led to changes in New York state law. Now the man at the center of it all is expected to be sentenced to 2 years in prison.
Brian Rodriguez took a plea deal, pleading guilty to falsely reporting an incident in the second degree, a felony. As part of the deal, prosecutors say he won't only be spending 2 years behind bars, but also 5 years of supervised release. Rodriguez is the man at the center of the squatter standoff we captured on camera.
This guy just forced himself into my house.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he did.
And so did you.
Ma'am.
You broke through the front door.
Officer.
Prosecutors say Rodriguez broke into Adele Andaloro's home in Flushing, Queens, changed the front door and lock, and rented out rooms to other people. When Andaloro confronted him, police took her away in handcuffs.
Yeah, so what's pretty much happening here is that, as I said, the woman was arrested for changing the locks on her own house. She had the papers and everything that she needed to prove to the court and to everybody else, and to the police officers that were there, it's like, hey, I have a deed, I have the papers to this house, here it is, and instead of actually reading that deed and following the laws, which the cops did not do and ignored, they arrested her instead. Because, in New York, it is completely just to arrest the people that are being the victim and help the people that are being the perpetrator. Because obviously in New York, victims get arrested and perpetrators, they go scot-free, because that is the law of New York. It's really quite interesting, really, on how New York works and their systems. But of course, New York is crazy. And he went out lying and not having any papers whatsoever to show to the cops. And even still, they decided that it was a good idea for them to arrest her instead of him. So you kind of shows on how this is going with the court of law and how all this kind of end up happening. So it is a good thing that this man is being arrested and everything is being done as it should, because, it's great. And of course, she came there with the actual newspaper and TV station because she wanted everybody to know what was going on here and how things are going and how the cops are acting. which of course these cops got a lot of backlash, which I would say some of these cops deserve to be relieved from their duties for, kind of arresting the wrong person here, but what do I know?
Rodriguez claimed he had a lease and a right to be there. He did not. The district attorney dropped the charges against her and filed criminal charges against him, which led to this week's plea deal.
See, he has violated the plea deal and all these other things that has been going on here, and there's a bit bigger to this as well because they arrested her, as you can tell, and she couldn't even get into her own house. She was locked out of her own house, which is the reason why she had to get a locksmith to change the lock. And when she said, I'm not leaving my house, I'm going to get a court order as I'm supposed to, they arrested her. So without further ado, this is the actual case in the matter.
She's in the process of selling it.
No, he locked it.
But she's been locked out. She claims squatters moved in on February 6th and refused to leave.
What's it like being here knowing you can't go inside of your own home?
It's enraging. It really is.
In New York, squatters have rights after 30 days.
By the time that someone does their investigation and they do their work and their job, we'll be well over the 30 days, and this man will have stolen my home. And now she's back.
Just after wrapping up our interview, a woman showed up.
What are you doing in the house? Are you renting this house? Why are you here?
She unlocked the front door, saw our cameras, and took off.
It's open. Let's go in the house. It's open.
So yeah, what you have here is that the guy ended up locking her out of her own house. She had to go out and get a locksmith, etc. to get back. She had to get a locksmith to change the lock. A woman came up that was obviously that was not supposed to be in the house, which she knew that she wasn't in the house. And unfortunately, what ended up happening was she just ended up leaving with the house open, and she didn't want to be caught on camera or TV because she knew she was doing wrong. So that was what's going on here. And then they were able to get into the house, and this is where things spiraled out of control, and the police got involved, and she was the one that was ended up being arrested here. And it gets a little bit worse, right? So this is just doing a bit of recap for you guys to understand what's really going on here with this whole situation, right? There were multiple people that were being in the house. She had a piece of paper that she was allowed in the house. These people were kicked outside of the house, and she got a locksmith to fix it. And then she was the one that was arrested and removed from the said house.
Adele and her daughter, with the property deed in hand, went inside.
This is my furniture. These are my curtains.
She didn't just find her belongings inside.
There's a man sleeping right there. Get out of my house.
She found two men.
How long have you lived here?
I moved in about 2 days ago.
They've called the police on me, and I've called the locksmith. I didn't come in illegally. The door was open.
Police started interviewing neighbors and looking for documents.
Do you have something that shows that you've been here for more than 30 days?
They took the man who told me he had been renting for 2 days out in handcuffs
They got one out.
and escorted the other guy off the property.
Now you're afraid to come out.
I'm not coming out. This house is empty. This is my home. My locksmith is on the corner waiting to change my locks. And it's not fair. It's not fair that I, as the homeowner, should be having to go through this.
How you doing?
Minutes later, a locksmith showed up, but police gave her a warning before they left.
I may end up in handcuffs today if this man shows up here and says that I have illegally evicted him. I said to them, let him take me to court the way I've been told to take him to court. But today, I'm not leaving my house.
Less than 10 minutes after police left and the locks were changed.
That's not going on.
The man who claims to be the one actually leasing the house shows up.
Call the police again.
With the other guy, police took off the property.
So what we have here is just a simple of the fact that she changed that these people were in her home. Nobody was supposed to be allowed in her home because, well, they didn't have the deed or anything. She even showed the cops the deed to the actual house, and they kicked them out. And even though the cops know that she had the deed to the house and what have you, he broke back into her house, and then after they broke back into her house, they decided it was to arrest her. And here's the big kicker here, right? The big kicker of all of this was that even though that she had the deed to the house, showed the cops already the deed to this said house, they also decided it was a good idea to arrest her and remove her from the house, which that doesn't make any sense. Then, add insult to injury, the guy knew the laws. He knew that he was blatantly abusing the said laws. He knew he didn't have any right to be there. And this is the people that he was playing as he's outright said this, and they still decided to arrest her. This is why it doesn't make any sense.
This guy just literally broke down my door. broke through myself and my daughter to get in here. This guy just forced himself into my house.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
And so did you. You broke through the front door.
Officer.
The man called the police on her.
So why is it that I have to leave and he doesn't have to leave?
Because technically he can't be kicked out. We need to go to court.
They consider this a landlord-tenant issue. And by law, it has to be handled through the housing court, not with police.
If you own this house, you would not want her inside.
I don't own the house. I don't own it.
Exactly,
Yes.
she does.
Yes, but then once again, you should know how the law works.
I do know how it
there's-
works.
There's rules to the as you got to go to court and send me to civil court.
So yeah, what you have here is that this guy knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that he was breaking the law and did it anyways, and pretty much explained to the reporter of what he was doing, which should have been plenty enough evidence to obviously get this guy, which they didn't do. And then one of the lawyers had said is like, we are making it standard to where like you can't just go into somebody's home and just take it just because you want to, etc., and what have you.
At the end of the day, we're making a message very clear. You don't get to walk into a house you don't own and say you have a right to stay. And we're going to make sure that this has a deterrent effect as well, and it will.
And it has. Rodriguez will be formally sentenced on March 28th and will start his prison sentence then. We reached out to his attorney and we haven't heard back yet.
Yeah, and what we have here is just a huge violation of a person's rights or laws, and this is the problem we have with all these issues with squatting. I have a huge problem. Squatting wouldn't even be an issue if we just got rid of the squatting law entirely. Again, as I said before, this was something way back then. We didn't need to be here. That shouldn't be here. And they're just causing issues for other people. I don't know what else to tell everyone. But at the end of the day, eventually justice was served. Eventually things have been dealt with. And this woman is able to, looks like, to get her house back after almost practically a year, which is insane. She should never have been going through this to begin with. The judge did dismiss the cases against her and went after him. He's now going to be serving X amount of time in jail, which thank God he should have. And it should just be an automatic deterrent for squatters to go and do this type of thing, but I don't know. I think the only way you're going to be able to deter this is if you, honestly, if you remove squatting rights altogether, because it just should not be a thing. You should be able to get a home if it's abandoned or what have you, and go through the courts, etc. But outside of this, you should not just be able to enter a home whenever you see fit. That's just insanity to me, and this would be helped. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Let's guys share. As always, take care, my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted, because it's algorithmic disease, the social media.